Ladies and gentlemen, hello, good morning to everyone. On the occasion of the completion of 10 years since EUSAIR start, today's conference marks the start of our country's efforts to inform the competent entities and set clear objectives for the new tenure. Our goals such so both for the strategy and for its implementation. The goal of the conference is to inform you about the revised action plan of EUSAIR and Greece presidency's priorities. Let's go to our schedule for today. We'll have a discussion with experts, which will be focused on the Pillar 1 of EUSAIR, i.e. blue development, biotechnologies, fishing, aquaculture, and maritime governance services. And we will discuss good practices. We will present ideas that can be transformed into actions. We will start today's conference with greetings, of course. Let's start with Mr. Gikas, Deputy Minister of Maritime Affairs and Insular Policy, New Democracy MP. Thank you very much. Secretary General, Mr. Governor, Mr. Mayor, Provost, have a nice month, everyone. Let's hope that we have a good month, a better month than previous months. Allow me, within my short greeting, considering we have other representatives as well here from other countries, allow me to speak in English.
Discuss, to exchange knowledge and expertise, and to move forward formulating jointly specific proposals that address the significant challenges of our era. The effects of climate change, which particularly affect the Mediterranean region, the new environmental targets, the need to further reinforce sustainable blue economy practices, the upskilling and reskilling of professions in the maritime domain are the main challenges of today. Greece, during the presidency, will continue the work promoting the main pillars of the strategy at the macro-regional level, as well as supporting local communities. The Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Insular Policy has a strong interest in all four pillars, namely blue growth, connectivity, environmental quality, and sustainable tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime transport is a key element for mobility and growth. In the European Union, nearly 80% of the world merchandise trade by volume is being carried by sea. Maritime transport, and in particular short sea shipping, is equally crucial for the connectivity of Adriatic and Ionian countries in order to achieve sustainable growth by facilitating the mobility of passengers and goods through the respective sea routes. Connectivity of the Greek islands with the mainland also is critical for ensuring territorial and social cohesion. Our main goal is to enhance the connectivity of the Greek islands, emphasizing the need for not only quality infrastructure, but also a regulated transport system that is affordable. Regular, permanent, and reliable connection for all island regions is actually one of our main objectives, of our goals. And this objective includes actions in both trans-European transport network and non-trans-European transport network, focusing on maritime safety, digitalization, and of course, greening. In this context, developing further maritime transport potential at the Adriatic-Ionian region emerges as both a need and opportunity, in particular in view of the current challenging times where the shipping industry is under pressure to decarbonize. This is crucial in order to maintain the advantage of shipping as the most environmentally friendly and economically viable alternative at the same time towards other modes of transport. Ladies and gentlemen, making the sea a central space of innovation, economic opportunities, and prosperity for all the countries around the Adriatic-Ionian region should be our main goal. We, at the Hellenic Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Insular Policy, representing, don't forget that, the largest fleet worldwide, support every effort and proposal that falls under this scope. I wish a very fruitful discussion and seminar today. And as I said yesterday, we had another meeting here. Find some time to visit beautiful Corfu. Thank you very much.
Η Γενική Γραμματέας του Εταιρικού Συμφώνου Περιφερειακής Ανάπτυξης του Υπουργείου Εθνικής Οικονομίας και Οικονομικών, η κυρία Βασιλική Παντελοπούλου.
Finance, Ms. Vasiliki Pantelopoulou. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone. Honorable Mr. Minister, dear colleagues, Secretary General, Honorable EU Commission representatives, Mr. Governor, mayors, dear partners of the macro region, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you here today in this event marking the initiation of the Greece's presidency in the EUSAIR initiative up until May 2025. Greece undertakes this presidency of the EUSAIR strategy in a very critical moment for Europe. This is a period coinciding with renewing the EU Commission, EU institution tenure renewal, aiming to find ways to talk about the cohesion after 2027, talking also about the gradual integration of Western Balkan countries. In this framework, we need to continue the Croatian presidency's work, which has contributed to the achievement of the goals for 2027, and set a tone for the strategy planning after 2027. In its second presidency for the AII and EUSAIR, Greece and Ministry of Finance, and especially Mr. Papathanassis, Associate Minister, as the competent minister and the coordination ministry for the implementation of the strategy, we need to make use of the experience drawn from those 10 years and make a plan aligned with our initiatives and objectives, and we need to have a plan for after 2027. So within those geopolitical challenges, we will face issues and will address issues that may be critical for us to achieve those goals. In the center of this presidency, we will find the enhancement of cooperation with neighboring countries and the implementation of a reinforced action plan of the EUSAIR, continuing the work from other presidencies. Within this framework, we will have technical meetings and events dedicated to each user pillar, such as sustainable tourism, environmental quality, blue growth, and connectivity. In today's meeting, we will have the opportunity to develop and elaborate on the priorities of the Greece's presidency priorities, considering the need for cohesion after 2027 and the need for enhancement of the EU share strategy. We will focus on blue economy and on blue skills need and blue collar professions. So we will also need to talk about the need to enhance the protection of the maritime environment and our goals for to achieve the green transition. So in conclusion, we need that the meaning, the essential point lies on the cooperation, constant dialogue within the involved parties, and this is where we will stand for, for this today. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here today. Let's move on to the Secretary General, Mr. Skalkos, Secretary General of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Mr. Vice Minister of Fishing and Insular Policy, Mr. Governor, Mr. Ioannis Tepeklis, dear friend, dear colleagues, Secretary General, dear Mr. European Commission representative, I don't need to stress how honored I feel to be here today to the kick-off meeting for the Greece's initiation of the presidency, EUSAIR. This is the European strategy for the Adriatic and Ionian Islands macro region. We need to remember that this year marks the 200th year of the founding for the Ionian Academy, so it's my pleasure to be here with you today. I have the opportunity to meet old but also new partners today. We have worked together so that we meet our goals. Dear friends, Greece is an indispensable part of the Mediterranean, keeping ties with all countries of the region. As a coastal country, Greece thinks that the Mediterranean is a sea of cooperation and merchandise. So this is a cultural space, a cultural area. This is where peoples meet and where we can have communication and we can have progress as well. Culture is what brings us together. Economy is what reinforces our relationships. And I think that we need, and it's our common objective, to tackle address the obstacles that may arise. Today, in the period of disruption, we have the war collisions, the energy crisis, we have rapid technological evolvement, We have the climate crisis consequences, we have the demographic problem, so it is in our benefit to cooperate everyone together with one another so that we have better results. In this framework, Greece upgrades constantly its image at a universal level, aiming to have participations in European initiatives. Greece has a leadership role in the Mediterranean area, and it's deepening its ties with partners, broadening the perspectives of cooperation with other partners. Greece, having assumed since last June the non-permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations, is dedicated to implementing action plans to ameliorate its position. So we have a regional cooperation among the Balkan and Mediterranean and Adriatic countries, and this is the framework where our goals are reflected, and selecting Corfu as a kick-off space for the Greek presidency is a very good choice. Let's quote some words from Palamas, a Greek poet, who said that the East meets with the West. So we need to cooperate in a constant way to meet the requirements for what we call European acquired. So this is what we are going to also do this year. Greece, after the successful presidency of Croatia, aims at continuing good practices, build on the previous experience, and set, within the following months, objectives and plans and actions around 4 pillars. First, sustainable practices for protection of the natural environment, protection from the pollution. Secondly, protect the maritime environment. Third, engagement of the youth for the present and the future, and focus fourthly on the connectivity. Considering this, and in the framework of the Greek presidency, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has processed and implemented 15 actions pertaining to those 4 thematic sections. I'm not gonna tire you more. We do believe that Adriatic Sea can work as a bridge among the people surrounding it. I welcome you to the kick-off meeting for the Greek presidency, and let me say that it's very important that all of us are here today. It is also important that there will be parties involved in the action plans of the following months. As Seferis said, this is an ongoingly narrowing world, so everyone need each other. Thank you very much for your attention.
General Secretary introduced us to poets and literature and reminded us that where Oviros and East and West meet, there is always a contrast of nature. Well, we will keep on with the Director of DG Region, European Territorial Cooperation, Indirect and Implementation Program, Mr. Slavomir Tokarski.
Dear General Secretaries, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, thank you very much for your kind invitation to this kick-off event for the Greek presidency of the Adriatic Ionian region macro-regional strategy. Now, the countries of the region are facing a series of parallel economic shocks. The region's economy was only just beginning to bounce back from the COVID-19 recession, but now it also needs to grapple with the fallout of Russia's aggression against Ukraine and the resurgence of inflation. Alongside a pressing energy transition in the view of the region's still heavy reliance on fossil fuels. It is also a fact that the Mediterranean area, and in particular this region, is a global climate crisis hotspot, characterized by the impact of climate change, biodiversity loss, desertification, droughts, and episodes of extreme weather. These threats negatively impact food security as well as the opportunities for development and population well-being. Finally, according to the recently released data of the statistical agency Eurostat, the countries of Southeast Europe are facing serious population decline. The biggest drop in population in Europe was in North Macedonia, which in 2022 had 11% fewer inhabitants than in 2012. Croatia was 10% and Bulgaria 9%. In just 10 years, these three countries lost every 10th inhabitant. Hence the significance of your work on the strategy's revision. It has extended the number of priorities by creating the fifth social pillar, added enlargement as a new horizontal topic, and enhancing the cross-cutting topics. The revision work has also highlighted the pivotal role of the new green dimension of the strategy, and it led to the setting up of proper monitoring tools and indicators to capture the progress of the strategy. So in this context, the 5 priorities of the Greek presidency work plan are more than relevant and most welcome. From the Commission perspective, it is important to recognize better the essential role of local and regional authorities within the revised multi-level governance of the strategy. This requires a participatory process of all key partners and stakeholders, not just member states, but regions, civil society organizations, SME clusters, and vocational and youth organizations. During the Greek presidency, the strategy will also finally launch the Adriatic Ionian Youth Council. Quite some time has passed since the participating countries decided to establish this Youth Council in Tirana in 2022, so I'm happy to hear that finally the selection process has come to an end, and the governing board has approved the final list of candidates. I hope that the Youth Council will soon have its inaugural meeting, and it will see its representatives participate in all future activities of the strategy. I believe that the strategy can and should play an ever bigger role in empowering youth, and young people must be part of this regional cooperation in an all-inclusive manner. Now, as you know, the Commission has been preparing internally for the adoption process of the revised action plan. We have intended to complete this process before the end of the year. However, you will also be aware that we are in a transition period as we await the arrival of the new college. The new college and commissioners, we want to be aware of high-profile ongoing work, such as the revision of a major macro-regional strategy. And we will have to discuss with our new commissioner how he wishes to take this work forward. In this perspective, please allow me to underline my conviction that cohesion policy is more than ever essential for the EU's prosperity, bridging regional gaps. Past cohesion policy investment have significantly boosted GDP, created jobs, and supported businesses. But the future of cohesion policy will also have to include reforms to address development traps and demographic challenges. Enhanced collaboration through the macro-regional strategies will be pivotal in that respect. My final word and my other key conviction in this matter is that it is up to all of us to ensure that we are doing everything we can to support the Western Balkans on their journey toward joining the EU family. I wish you a productive and successful kick-off event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tokarski. Να περάσουμε τώρα στον Περιφερειάρχη Ιωνίων Νήσων, τον κύριο Ιωάννη Τρεπεκλή.
Governor of Region Ionian Islands, Mr. Ioannis Trepeklis.
Κύριε Υπουργέ, κύριοι Γενικοί Γραμματείς, κύριε Πρίντανη, αγαπητοί δήμαρχοι, αγαπητοί φίλοι της τοπικής αυτοδιοίκησης, στελέχη των διαχειριστικών αρχών. Κυρίες και κύριοι, σας καλωσορίζουμε στην Κέρκυρα, στην έδρα της Περιφέρειας, στο ιστορικό κτίριο της Ιωνίου Ακαδημίας και βεβαίως, κύριε Σκάλκο, να σας υπενθυμίσω το πρώτο
that it is the first state university of our country, because there are some also private universities, but this is the first university. The strategy of the European Union for the region Adriatic Ionian and the accompanying action plan were adopted by the European Parliament in 2014. According to the European Commission, our region, and as I can see, Mr. Vice Mayor, Mr. Skutic, they played a very important role in this activity. Macro-regional strategy aims to the enforcement of collaboration between 8 participating countries that are in the same geographical zone, that is in the maritime sea basin, Adriatic Ionian, where there is the region of Ionian Sea. Participating countries are the 4 EU state members, Greece, Italy, Croatia and Slovenia, and 4 third countries, Albania, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro. And 2 years ago there was added North Macedonia and San Marino as participants in order to adopt common policies. I would like to stress that it's been a long time that the first local community has developed collaboration and common actions with all these regions and communities. Long-term strategy includes 4 pillars. First one, blue development. Second, connecting region, network, transport and energy. Third, quality of the environment. And fourth, sustainable tourism, which have horizontal issues as regards research and innovation in order to promote competitivity and the need to face the consequences of the climate change and the face of the risks. Since the kick-off our presidency, the issues and the challenges that we have to face through these pillars of the macro-regional strategy are in total priority, and thanks to the funding we receive and we have, such as the regional program to 21-27 and the regional program of development of national funding investments, we are going to promote projects in order to have a strategy. But the region, as described in the program Ionian Islands 21-27, participates in the national network for the macro-regional strategy Adriatic Ionian, and for this invitation program, it going to use projects and actions that contribute to the implementation of aims, research and action according to the research institutes and our universities, generally speaking, of all the regions, emphasizing on the blue economy, for instance, the sea biotechnology activities, open and deep sea blue technologies. Network of ports, creation of green ports. Mr. Deputy, we have plenty of ports, big and small. Action of a complete investment for sustainable tourism, focusing on offshore zone, having interest on the strategy of an implementation, safeguard, safety of biodiversity, planning of tourism, and of course we face plenty of problems because of the climate change. Ionian Islands face all this. As regards we have faced. But all these problems concern all the us and the neighboring countries where we have to collaborate in order to respond to this kind of issues, in order to protect our climate, private life, private fortune, and of course public infrastructure, awareness, information of common opinion, as regards strategy and the benefits created thanks to project Ionian Islands 21-27. Within this framework, I would like to welcome you in Corfu. I am engaged that I'm going to collaborate with you perfect, and we support our government and the planification along with the funding and in order to have a successful presidency. I do promise that because we have the experiences and the stakeholders. So along with you, we will do the best and we hope to have the best results as regards the strategies and member states. I hope you the best. I hope to have a joyful stay. It's a city that belongs to the UNESCO. Thank you very much. The municipality of Central Corfu is represented by Mr. Curtis. Thank you very much. Well, I thought it would be Mr. Kouroumenos, but I have to explain you that because some responsibilities, mayor cannot be with us today. So, from the municipality of Corfu and the appointed islands, I will be the representative. Dear Deputy, Mr. President, Mr. Governor, Mr. Dean, Mr. Vice Dean, ladies and gentlemen, it's my joy to welcome you here in Corfu, the capital of the Ionian Islands, and in this event that kicks off the Greek presidency in the EUSAIR strategy of the European Union for the macro region of Adriatic Ionian. This kickoff from Greece is something important for deepening the collaboration between the regions and local authorities, offering unique opportunities for development, coherence, and common progress. EUSAIR is a vital strategy that promotes economical development and well-being for environmental sustainability. The challenges that our regions face are common and interconnected. The enforcement of economy, the promotion of cycle economy and sustainable development and face of climate change are priorities that only thanks to cooperation we can face with great results. Regional and local authorities play a vital role on this action. Our actions should not be limited locally, but contribute as well in the wider coherence of the macro region of the Adriatic Ionian. Developing networks, exchanging practices and implementation of solutions on transportation, tourism, energy, good results and protection of the environment are new of this strategy. The municipality of Corfu and of all the Ionian Islands are engaged to develop this collaboration in order to promote initiatives that would be able to contribute to the well-being of our citizens, having also all the resources we need for our future. Altogether, we could form a common future where sustainability will be in our benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence here in Corfu, and I hope that we will have a well collaboration between us. Thank you very much.
Well, let's prepare for the video projection. We will move on now. Let's coordinate in a better way for what is going to follow. And for marking 10 years for the EUSAIR initiative, we have prepared a video. Let's watch it, please.
Αδριατική και Ιόνιο. Μακροπεριφερειακή στρατηγική EUSAIR. Μια γέφυρα που ενώνει 10 λαούς ανάμεσα στην Αδριατική και το Ιόνιο σε μια κοινή πορεία. Μια διαδρομή προς την ανάπτυξη, την ευημερία και τη διασύνδεση. Όραμα και αποστολή της EUSAIR είναι η ανάπτυξη, η απασχόληση και η ανταλλαγή τεχνογνωσίας και καλών πρακτικών μέσα από την αντιμετώπιση της κλιματικής αλλαγής, την προστασία του περιβάλλοντος, αλλά και τη δημιουργία ενός βιώσιμου μέλλοντος για τους πολίτες της μακροπεριφέρειας. Με την συμμετοχή 10 χωρών, στοχεύοντας πάντα στην οικονομική και κοινωνική ευημερία, την ανάπτυξη, την απασχόληση και την κοινωνική συνοχή, η στρατηγική EUSAIR εκφράζεται μέσα από 4 πυλώνες: της γαλάζιας ανάπτυξης, της διασύνδεσης της μακροπεριφέρειας, της περιβαλλοντικής ποιότητας και του βιώσιμου τουρισμού, ενώ και ένας πέμπτος πυλώνας της κοινωνικής ενσωμάτωσης πρόκειται να προσθεθεί. Η στρατηγική της EUSAIR επικεντρώνεται σε ζητήματα κοινού ενδιαφέροντος των περιφερειών των χωρών της περιοχής, που στοχεύουν μέσα από τη συνεργασία τους στην βελτίωση της ανταγωνιστικότητας των επιχειρήσεων, στη διασύνδεση και στη μείωση των φυσικών και τεχνητών εμποδίων, στην προσβασιμότητα στην ευρύτερη περιοχή, στη δημιουργία και ενίσχυση των θέσεων εργασίας στη μακροπεριφέρεια, στην ανάδειξη του τουριστικού και πολιτιστικού προϊόντος των χωρών της EUSAIR, αλλά και στην υλοποίηση μιας στρατηγικής που προωθεί την ενταξιακή πορεία και την ενσωμάτωση των Δυτικών Βαλκανίων στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Η Ελλάδα από την 1η Ιουνίου 2024 έως την 31 Μαΐου 2025 αναλαμβάνει για δεύτερη φορά την προεδρία της EUSAIR για την περιφέρεια Αδριατικής και Ιωνίου. Ο πρώτος πυλώνας της γαλάζιας ανάπτυξης στοχεύει στην προώθηση των γαλάζιων τεχνολογιών, στην ενίσχυση της αλληλείας και στην ανάπτυξη των θαλάσσιων υπηρεσιών και διακυβέρνησης. Ο δεύτερος πυλώνας της διασύνδεσης της μακροπεριφέρειας αποσκοπεί στην ενίσχυση της θαλάσσιας ασφάλειας, τη δημιουργία ενός ανταγωνιστικού συστήματος μεταφορών με την ανάπτυξη αξιόπιστων δικτύων μεταφοράς για προϊόντα, υπηρεσίες και επιβάτες, ενώ στοχεύει και στην ανάπτυξη των ενεργειακών δικτύων στην περιοχή μέσω του υποπυλώνα της ενέργειας. Ο τρίτος πυλώνας της περιβαλλοντικής ποιότητας επενδύει στην εξασφάλιση πρότυπων περιβαλλοντικών και οικολογικών προδιαγραφών, στην αποκατάσταση της βιοποικιλότητας και προστασία των οικοσυστημάτων και στη βελτίωση διαχείρισης συστημάτων λιμάτων. Ο τέταρτος πυλώνας του βιώσιμου τουρισμού αποσκοπεί στην διαφοροποίηση τουριστικών προϊόντων και υπηρεσιών, την ενίσχυση ποιότητας και καινοτομίας στον τουρισμό, τη βελτίωση της βιωσιμότητας και τη συνολικότερη αναβάθμιση του τουριστικού προϊόντος. EUSAIR. Δημιουργούμε γέφυρες ανάπτυξης. Ενώνουμε πολιτισμούς.
Well, let's move on to our official program after the greetings and the video projection. And as Mr. Skalkos, we introduced us to a poetry atmosphere today, and I know Mr. Governor is sensitive for the rest of our islands. The speaker is quoting Palamas words dedicated to Ionian Islands, not only Corfu but all islands. So we will move on with the presentation of the revised action plan of EUSAIR to the DG Regio, Macro Regions and Interreg and Territorial Cooperation, Mr. Gil Kittel. είναι ότι θα πρέπει να γεφυρώσουμε το χάσμα μεταξύ επενδύσεων και μεταρρυθμίσεων. Επομένως, ο λόγος που θέλαμε να αναθεωρήσουμε το σχέδιο δράσης είναι επειδή όντως κάποια στοιχεία δεν ήταν ξεκάθαρα 10 χρόνια πριν. Επομένως, θα έπρεπε να προσαρμοστούμε. Και αυτό κάναμε. Κάποιες λέξεις λοιπόν από εμάς πριν προχωρήσουμε είναι σε σχέση με
we are essentially in red or dark red.
Δεν θα σπαταλήσω πολύ χρόνο με αυτό, αλλά το δημογραφικό είναι ακόμα χειρότερο στα Δυτικά Βαλκάνια. Τρεις χώρες στα Δυτικά Βαλκάνια έχουν χάσει πάνω από 10% του πληθυσμού τους τα τελευταία 10 χρόνια και πρέπει να δουλέψουμε πάνω σε αυτό. Μέσα σε αυτή η περιοχή συγκεκριμένα, για κάποιο λόγο χτυπιέται διαρκώς από τα προβλήματα, όπως είναι και η κλιματική αλλαγή και το δημογραφικό. Γι' αυτό λοιπόν βλέπουμε ότι καταβάλουμε τόσο μεγάλη προσπάθεια το έργο μέχρι και τον Οκτώβριο του 2023, όμως έφτασε στις Βρυξέλλες τον Απρίλιο του 2024 και πάλι μέχρι και τον Ιούλιο θα έπρεπε να το επεξεργαστούμε. Έχει γίνει όμως πάρα πολλή δουλειά σε πάρα πολλά επίπεδα, σε τεχνικό, σε πολιτικό, σε πάρα πολλούς τομείς, ώστε να το αναθεωρήσουμε εξ ολοκλήρου, ώστε να συμπεριλάβουμε τις προκλήσεις που ανέφερα με πολύ συγκεκριμένο τρόπο και δεν περιοριζόμαστε απλά σε αυτά, απλώς ενδεικτικά. Προσθέθηκε ένας πέμπτος πυλώνας στη στρατηγική σε σχέση με την κοινωνική διάσταση. Σε όλους τους πυλώνες θα μπορούσαμε να ασχοληθούμε με τον χωροταξικό σχεδιασμό και το περιβάλλον και με έναν τρόπο να αντιμετωπίσουμε όλες τις προκλήσεις. Η διεύρυνση επανέρχεται στην ατζέντα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Έχουμε 5 υποψήφιες χώρες και φυσικά η διεύρυνση είναι πολύ σημαντικό θέμα.
Let's say what was already started 10 years ago is the Green Deal. Obviously, that remains a priority, the digital transition, and then the long-term vision for the rural areas in the region. Again, also these disparities between the cities and the rural areas. And the fact that we have to reduce those let's say, gaps that the region might face. Capacity building, I mentioned already, that was already initiated 10 years ago. The idea is really to go a step forward and to develop really a truly, generally multi-level governance. We have tried also in the revised text to mainstream gender equality and youth involvement. In that respect, we are happy to hear that soon there will be a youth council of the strategy with a real involvement of young people in the governance. Urban-rural linkages, again, it's really to stimulate those two things. And then, and that's important, in order to measure more concretely the achievement, there has been also an enormous work done to develop a full set of indicators with milestone baseline and really to see and also to be able to correct the priorities in case we see that either they are not achievable or they need to be adapted. The indicators will allow us to be far more precise and also to allocate our resources in a much smarter way, I would say. There are other cross-cutting topics which have been as well revised, but again, they are not completely new. They were just, let's say, reinforced in the revised text. About the timeline, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's so readable for you, but what you see the message here is to say that we had a delay of about 6 months when the text was submitted to the Commission. Our intention is to adopt the text by the end of this year. There is a certain uncertainty that I will highlight to you in the following slide, but it's to say that more or less, at least on our side, we are on time. We have a small delay of probably 2 weeks, but that's not significant. Just to say, you see, about now the adoption of the revised action plan, what we still don't know is the intention of our future management. So we are waiting for our commissioner to be confirmed, and then we will see if he wants to issue or she wants to issue a communication. That might delay a little bit, but again, we're insisting the action plan should be issued very soon, and the text that is already circulating is at 99% the final one. So it's to say we are extremely close to the end. So why now we think that the strategy is so needed is because it's, and that's actually at the basis of, that's from the start, let's say, because it's not bureaucratic, it's political, and we think it's important that it is political, and it's strategic. It's not linked to any rules, so it can be adapted very quickly. And that we want to keep. There are debates to keep these 3 no's rules, but we, on the Commission side, would like to keep on this basis. About the enlargement, I told you that we have 5 candidate countries, so why the strategy has, in that respect, a real different added value compared to the enlargement process that will continue existing, is it's much more horizontal. So the enlargement process is something extremely vertical. You have to go through different milestones, and if you don't reach those milestones, you cannot, let's say, go to the next level. Here, with the strategy, you can really progress at your rhythm on the different topics. And that complements very well, actually, the let's say, mainstream enlargement process that we have already. So here, as I say, you see it's about complementing the methodology. I will not be too long on this, but through this, through the fact that we allow countries to work, to progress, let's say, on the topics on an horizontal manner, that's also a way to stimulate their capacity, and we think that that's very important. Now, the other reason we think the strategy is so needed, and now we are thinking more about candidate countries, is also to develop the feeling of ownership, to be sure that they're taking by themselves their decisions. Otherwise, when they're outside the EU, they are mostly imposed in a way the activities they need to carry out. Through the strategy, they have really this, let's say, area of freedom to already take certain decisions and to contribute to the reflection of the other countries. So, to summarize, you see what I tried to show you, and really, because in a way it can be, it's not more complicated than that, but we think that, and that's an African proverb, if you want to go fast, you can go alone, that's recommended, but if you want to go far, it's better to go together. And that's really what EUSAIR is about. So if there is any question, I'm absolutely happy to take them now or later. You can also, we can discuss bilaterally afterwards. Otherwise, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Για τα 10 χρόνια της EUSAIR, για τα 10 χρόνια της εφαρμογής της στρατηγικής, θα μας μιλήσει η κυρία Εύα Κόρς. Τα θέματα της είναι οι σκέψεις, ιδέες, αντιδράσεις, αναστοχασμοί, μαθήματα. Κυρία Εύα Κώστα από το Υπουργείο Συνοχής και Περιφερειακής Ανάπτυξης της Σλοβενίας, συντονίστρια του έργου EUSAIR Facility Point.
EUSAIR Facility Point Coordinator.
Mrs. Eva Kos.
Good morning. So good morning also from my side. I was given the privilege to say something about the 10th anniversary of the EUSAIR. And first of all, let me introduce myself. So I'm a coordinator of the EUSAIR Facility Point, which is one of the governance support projects supporting the strategy and acting as a secretariat of the strategy. So EUSAIR's story starts in 2014, as you already heard, and it starts actually further back, but since I only have 5 minutes, I will just start in 2014. In that year, the strategy of Adriatic and Ionian region was endorsed by then just 8 countries, and also under the guidance of the European Commission. The strategy addressed common challenges in 4 main thematic areas called pillars, which you also heard about today. So the blue growth, the connecting the region in energy and transport, environmental quality, and sustainable tourism. A joint action plan was developed, identifying mostly thematic priorities and just some indicative actions. So it was done on a much more general basis, as we heard about today's revised action plan. So together with the strategy launch, also the governance architecture, basic governance architecture was laid out, and it took quite some years for this architecture for these governance bodies to start working properly, to become fully functional. This is something taken for granted now, but it was actually, it took some time to achieve that. And also, at that time, in 2016, EUSAIR Facility Point was established to help the strategy with coordination, with organization, consolidation, and to ensure continuity. In the first few years, the thematic steering groups were more discovering the different frameworks within which the strategy is working. So, as mentioned already before, there were even potential candidate countries, then candidate countries, and EU member states, and identified policy areas from the old action plan that actually they wanted to focus more and work more on. Probably you know, and as was already mentioned, the macro-region strategies do not have their own funds. They are actually working with the existing funding resources, aligning them to implement priorities of common macro-regional interest. And to that end, in 2022, when there was the preparation of the new programming period of 21-27, countries decided to develop flagships, which are basically narrowing down the priorities from the action plan into concrete actions. And this was also allowed these priorities to be more easily embedded in the new programs of the period we are currently in. And on the other hand, the flagship, so it was on the one hand, they were embedded in the programs, but on the other, they also can be picked up by stakeholders and partnerships and further developed and into bankable projects. And we see there are many in each of the priorities of the strategy. So, but the strategy is not working only on these flagships and strategic projects, it's also working on aligning policies. And most pillars developed, let's call them strategic guidelines, which help with the implementation of the action plan. So in Pillar 1, for example, we have marine space multi-use, so how to integrate different uses of marine space. And then climate change monitoring. Then in Pillar 2, they developed 2 master plans, one on transport and one on energy, which now form the basis of further work in the strategy on transport and energy. And in Pillar 3, environmental quality, they developed a handbook for recognizing and planning green infrastructure, and following that also scenario for designation of marine protected areas network in the Adriatic Union region, following the 2030 EU biodiversity strategy. And in Pillar 4 also they developed some tools to help stakeholders in pursuing the sustainable tourism practices. So the strategy has matured, and in 2014 it became, the 2014 action plan became evident is no longer fitting. It does not fit anymore the new challenges brought by repeated crises, by the new geopolitical and always changing geopolitical circumstances, and also the new EU policies. So EUSAIR entered in the revision stage, as you heard already. And at that time, also 2 new countries joined the strategy, and these were North Macedonia in 2020 and San Marino in 2022. With this, EUSAIR became the first macro-regional strategy that actually has majority of countries which are not being EU member states. So with the 10 participating countries, we have 4 EU member states, 5 candidate countries, and 1 third country, so San Marino. The focus of the strategy on an EU enlargement process became more recognized, and also the potential of the strategy to support that process. Sustainability was at the core of the strategy from its beginning. However, with new EU policies, all EUSAIR pillars strengthened their green transition component. Blue growth became blue sustainable economy. In connectivity, we have new topics such as renewable energy sources and energy efficiency. Sustainability was also enhanced in all transport topics. Environmental quality pillar became even more ambitious with its targets. And transition pathway strategy is at the core of sustainable tourism pillar. So additionally, with more countries with no or very little sea, also the actions were opened up towards continental territories. The biggest change in the strategy, however, is the 5th pillar, so improved social cohesion. Countries recognized the need to support the green and digital transition with reinforcing social cohesion and facilitating access to basic social services and social protection, reducing poverty and inequalities. So, to conclude, the revision was accompanied with a good measure of self-questioning about common objectives and ambitions. It brought new focus, motivation, and was a chance to reinstate countries' commitment to the strategy and its action plan. Now we are eagerly waiting for its endorsement and implementation of newly defined actions, also together with you, our valuable stakeholders. So thank you very much and enjoy.
Πριν περάσουμε στα 2 ενδιαφέροντα πάνελ που θα ακολουθήσουν, θα περάσουμε στον έξω χώρο τώρα για μικρό διάλειμμα για καφέ. Να περάσουμε σιγά σιγά μέσα, παρακαλώ.
Coming, please.
Λοιπόν, αν η τεχνική μας είναι έτοιμη, να ξεκινήσουμε σιγά σιγά.
If the technicians are ready, we may start, please.
Λοιπόν, θα ξεκινήσουμε με την πρώτη συνεδρίαση. Η πρώτη συνεδρίαση για θέμα της έχει την παρουσίαση και διάλογο για τις προτεραιότητες της ελληνικής προεδρίας της EUSAIR. Συντονίστρια θα είναι η κυρία Ματίλντι Κωνσταντοπούλου, η οποία είναι και εθνική συντονίστρια της EUSAIR, του Υπουργείου Εθνικής Οικονομίας και Οικονομικών. Θα συμμετέχουν στο πάνελ ο κύριος Πέτρος Βαρελίδης, Γενικός Γραμματέας Φυσικού Περιβάλλοντος και Υδάτων του Υπουργείου Περιβάλλοντος και Ενέργειας. Ευχαριστώ, κύριε Γραμματέα. Ο κύριος Μανώλης Κουτουλάκης, Γενικός Γραμματέας Αιγαίου και Νησιωτικής Πολιτικής του Υπουργείου Ναυτιλίας και της Νησιωτικής Πολιτικής. Η κυρία Πελαγία Γκούντρα, Γραμματέας Πρεσβείας Α3 Διεύθυνση Χωρών Νότιο-Ανατολικής Ευρώπης του Υπουργείου των Εξωτερικών. Και η κυρία Μαρία Κωστοπούλου, προϊστάμενη μονάδας Α, Στρατηγική και Παρακολούθηση Πολιτικών, Ειδική Υπηρεσία Συντονισμού του Σχεδιασμού της Αξιολόγησης και της Εφαρμογής, Γενική Διεύθυνση Στρατηγικής Σχεδιασμού και Εφαρμογής ΕΣΠΑ, Γενική Γραμματεία ΕΣΠΑ του Υπουργείου Εθνικής Οικονομίας και Οικονομικών. Και καλό θα είναι να υπενθυμίσω και για την κυρία Ματίλντι Κωνσταντοπούλου ότι η συζήτησή μας αυτή πλέον, εκτός από το προβάλλεται στο YouTube, εκτός από εκεί προβάλλεται και από το περιφερειακό κανάλι του Κόρφου Channel ζωντανά.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για να μας αγχώσετε ακόμα περισσότερο. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Να σας καλημερίσω όλους και να σας καλωσορίσω εδώ πέρα. Να ευχαριστήσουμε και τον Πρίτανη που μας παραχώρησε αυτή την υπέροχη αίθουσα εδώ στο κτίριο της Ιωνίου Ακαδημίας. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ που είσαστε εδώ μαζί μας, κύριε Γενική Γραμματής, κυρία Γκούντρα, προϊσταμένη μου. Και η σημερινή αυτή συζήτηση θα επικεντρωθεί στις προτεραιότητες της ελληνικής προεδρίας της EUSAIR για το 2024-2025. Θέλω λίγο να δώσω το στίγμα για το πώς καταλήξαμε σε αυτές τις προτεραιότητες. Ουσιαστικά οι προτεραιότητες μας έχουν ένα διπλό στόχο. Είναι πρώτα απ' όλα σε ευθυγράμμιση με τις ευρωπαϊκές πολιτικές της προγραμματικής περίοδου 21-27 για πράσινη μετάβαση και ψηφιακή προσαρμογή και παράλληλα εξυπηρετούν το όραμα και την αποστολή της στρατηγικής μας τη δεκαετία αυτή που υλοποιείται. Ο κύριος Τοκάρσκι μας έθεσε το γενικότερο πλαίσιο της χρονικής αυτής στιγμής όπου αρχίζουμε και υλοποιούμε εμείς ως Προεδρία τις προτεραιότητές μας. Ακούσαμε και από τον κύριο Ζιλκιτέλ το αναθεωρημένο πλαίσιο δράσης που εισάγει την καινοτομία του πέμπτου πυλώνα για τα κοινωνικά θέματα και η οποία διατρέχει τις προτεραιότητές μας και θα φανεί αυτό και στη συζήτηση που έχουμε σήμερα. Και βέβαια θέλω να τονίσω ότι η Εύα Ικός μας μίλησε για τα 10 χρόνια της EUSAIR. Εγώ θέλω να μιλήσω και για τον ενθουσιασμό που διακατέχει εμάς που ασχολούμαστε με τη στρατηγική, για τη συνεργασία μας, για την πολύ καλή επικοινωνία που έχουμε με τους εκπροσώπους των 10 χωρών με τους οποίους συνεργαζόμαστε και βέβαια με την Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή και παράλληλα έχουμε τη στήριξη και την υποστήριξη του Υπουργείου μας και της Γενικής μας Γραμματείας για αυτή τη στρατηγική που πραγματικά θεωρούμε ότι φέρνει κοντά τους λαούς μας και δίνει νέα όθηση στις στρατηγικές της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής. Δεν θέλω να μακρηγορήσω άλλο. Θέλω μόνο να πω ότι το σκεπτικό του πάνελ σήμερα εδώ πέρα είναι ακριβώς να παρουσιάσουμε τις 5 προτεραιότητες που ουσιαστικά έχουμε βάλει για τη στρατηγική μας. Ο κύριος Βαρελίδης, ο Γενικός μας Γραμματέας του Φυσικού Περιβάλλοντος και Υδάτων από το Υπουργείο Περιβάλλοντος και Ενέργειας, είναι εδώ με διπλό ρόλο, θα μας παρουσιάσει και τις προτεραιότητες που αφορούν την κλιματική αντιμετώπιση και τα ενεργειακά θέματα, αλλά παράλληλα και την προστασία του περιβάλλοντος και της βιοποικιλότητας.
That are along with the energy pillar and energy environmental pillar. Mr. Koutoulakis, who is Secretary General of Aegean and Island Policy, Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Insular Policy, are going to talk about blue economy that, as you know, is the pillar on which Greece is the head, along with Montenegro. Therefore, he's going to talk about blue economy and blue-collar professions that bear the social priorities and responsibility. Ms. Kundra, First Embassy Secretary, is going to talk about enlargement. We heard about the geopolitical framework on which we are led and all the challenges we face. And Ms. Kostopoulou is going to talk about the cohesion policies after 27, how it is aligned or leads all macro-regional strategies in their planning, and generally speaking, how we can see our policy and our strategy after 27. Let's start with Mr. Varelide. Mr. General, Greece promotes alignment of its planning in the direction of climate neutrality by 2050, formulating the National Energy and Climate Plan, the long-term strategy for 2050. The national climate described to us our priorities for the future. Can you elaborate on how the dimension of international cooperation within EUSAIR is linked to the national ambition for climate change mitigation and energy transition crisis and all these changes? Thank you very much. I'm very happy for being here on Corfu after 50 years. As regards your question, I would like to say that it is obvious that Greece is, along with all these countries that have an ambition to the agenda of the green transition. This is a conscious political choice because we think that it's a one-way step for economical and environmental reasons, because Greece in reality, apart from its expectations, according to our data today, is a country that does not have energy resources, so it has to turn even from strategic reasons to renewable resources, for there are obviously a great variety of resources, especially of the wind farming. So it's a policy for that for a lot of reasons we should learn to green policy. This is implemented also to the national plan, where its aim is not just an aspiration, as it is said in English, but it is something agile. And in 2030, 80% of the energy in Greece would be produced by up. That means that obviously it will be achieved since 2028, not 2030, because there are some res works. There are some rules, therefore there is some implementation, and therefore we can calculate and evaluate the percentage. We have already achieved 60% of this project. As regards the percentage of the wind energy, we are the second country in the world. Therefore, the rates, the amounts are too high. This also causes pressures. It's not any transition that, of course, has some cost, social, environmental, which not hide the problems. The wide and fast development of our country brings challenges, such as a country like Greece, where as a country it is quite old. Therefore, it's difficult to change. And on the other hand, it's a country of tourism, where any intervention changes the climate and the environment and causes conflicts as regards the rest of the uses. Therefore, this is a lesson for all of us in order to go along with this and to find solutions. And I think that it is something that it's quite valuable and to talk about in a European level and then macro-regional area here in our neighborhood and within the framework of the EUSAIR, in order to see what are the problems and how we can face them even from other countries of the region. As regards, therefore, the energy, I would like to say that it's quite important for all of us to find a better connectivity of networks in the green transition. It is primordial. The networks at this very moment, it's not the possibility to produce res, but the limited capacity of the networks and the small connectivity of the West Balkans and of the South Balkans, along with the rest of the Europe, that leads, as you may hear, of course, have high costs of gross cost in energy in comparison with the rest of the countries in Europe. Therefore, the question of connectivity is something that affects our daily life and may have positive outcomes for all the countries of the area. Therefore, we should focus on that, not on the hydrogen. Hydrogen could be a fuel of the future. You know, hydrogen is the smallest molecule, therefore it can go away. It is a very strong fuel of the gas emission, but we should think all about this. But first of all, we should focus on energy connectivity. First of all, we have natural gas as a fuel. It helps us because we also have some issues with Russia. So therefore, we should differentiate and find other resources. Therefore, all these as regards energy, should think about? Well, thank you very much. You talked also about two issues, since you were to refer to RES as regards strategy and demographic problems, regarding renewable sources and social issues as we face such facilities, what our attitude that may have some conflicts contrary to tourism. I would like to ask you, as regards what you have mentioned, what are the basic challenges and the obstacles for the development of cross-borders energy infrastructure regarding EUSAIR, and how all these obstacles could be overcome thanks to our strategy, thanks to these 10 countries. First of all, I would like to say that it is important that there are countries within the EU and some others that are not, and are in a different level of approach as regards European Union and the enlargement of the European Union. Well, and this is something that keeps us behind, but we hope we will overpass all these obstacles, because the enlargement is really important, especially in the Balkans. Is something we wish for strategic reasons, actually. Well, the fact that we are not all in the same framework, I could say, creates the need to have other ways of communication in order to be able to have a common concept and form commonly the strategies of the future. Well, there are some small problems, I would say, as we already know. Sea zones, well, some different opinions, environmental issues, issues of consultancy with the civil societies that we should overcome in order to find this cross-border collaboration as soon as possible, I would say, and make the projects more mature in order to attract the funding in order to be able to implement them. But it is quite clear that our future is the connectivity of the networks, something that is even more necessary, contrary to the past, because of the transition of RES, because technically it demands also more networks with even more capacity that could cope the high levels during the day, I would say, when there is more sun and wind, in order to be able to function with stability of this network. Well, connectivities, there is a great program of connectivities, and of course of the inner networks, because all these go along, because you need to have connectivity in the infrastructure in the country to be able to provide energy. And I do think that in a trans-European level and European level, there are some funding tools exactly for the enforcement of the electricity grids and networks. I would also like to say that these connectivities, thanks to land, are technically more easy, but the sea ones have some difficulties along with the depth of the bottom. But Greece has a great experience thanks to the great connectivity of Crete, of the island of Crete, and with the preparation of the connectivity of the Deccanese that follows. Therefore, I do think that all this experience is very important to be given to the rest of the area since a great part of connectivity could be done thanks to the sea. Thank you very much that you were focused on networking and connectivity, and I hope that Professor Gariba, who is head of Pillar 2 of the sub-unit, could follow us, because such an issue was proposed before the organization of this event, and he wanted to, we should talk about this. So I think that he will be very glad. Now I would like to tell us something about the environment. And I would like to be referred to the 9th session of our Ocean Conference hosted in Athens on the 17th of April. And the Prime Minister referred to the creation of 2 marine parks, one of which is in the Ionian. And at the same time, he talked about the necessity for monitoring and surveillance of protected marine areas, the commitment of 50% of microplastic by 2030, by 30% of microplastics compared to 2019. Well, in this field, collaboration between the countries of Adriatic Ionian, how is it shaped, and how could we achieve the added value we say that is very important, especially as regards the reduce of the microplastics in the Sea of Ionian Adriatic? Well, it is obvious that the sea is one place unique. I wouldn't say that there are no borders, but is unique. That means that even we don't wish that, we have to collaborate with all the similar countries that are wet by common sea. Within this framework, I would like to say that the initiative of our sea park in the Ionian Sea that is extending 14 million or 15 million kilometers of square, that will be defined by the study that is taking place nowadays and will be completed up to the end of the year. It is a fact that it is very important, and the measure combined with an obvious limitation announced, that is that in sea parks there will be prohibited since 26 the trawling fishing, which is very bad for the environment and the sea environment, and has huge consequences in the maritime environment. I would like to point out that I'm really surprised that ecological organizations are really worried about the extraction of oil in the Ionian Sea, which it's actually in mind. It does not take place, but they do not worry at all about the fishing trawling. I mean, they cannot see the elephant, but they are occupied with the mosquito that may come in the future. This is all about. So we have to face the problems face to face. The basic problem in the sea maritime is the over-exploitation of fishing. Therefore, we should see what should be done, because this should not take place contrary to fishermen, but they make new changes and refresh the environment. Therefore, it is really important to have a huge park that should start south of Antikythera and is extended up to Lefkada. Therefore, there is a great extension that facilitates also the monitoring, because the problem of controlling fishing, as you all know, GPS could change the signals. Actually, there are tools that can change the signals, but when there are some small protected areas, it's easy to be done. But in greater areas, it's not that easy to explain why you were in a place or you're situated in a protected area. Therefore, the huge is related to the size. That's why I would like to add that despite the measures, and this is something endemic in Greece, but actually I think in the rest of the countries, if there is not any control, then it's futile. The key in the protection of the environment is the right control. And for this reason, thanks to the funding, we adopt a quite expensive program of monitoring and surveillance, thanks to drones, radars, and boats, in a combination of traditional and modern tools, in order to secure the right monitoring of any measures that should be taken. And this is something that should be discussed in the level of collaboration at the Adriatic-Ionian Sea, because it is a fact that it's a good practice that should be transferred to the neighboring countries, and it is really important because there is one sea, and all together we should protect it. As regards to the plastics, obviously, contrary to the other aim of RES, it is an aspirational goal. It is really difficult to measure it with punctuality. This is the reality, you know. But we should try. There is some level in order to be able to know what's the effort you should do in order to clean the sea from plastics. It's impossible to just absorb the water and clean it. Obviously, you should clean the coast. Therefore, there should be cleaning programs of the shores and some measures that could prevent the continuous of new plastics, new coming of new plastics in the sea, so as gradually we will be able to clean the sea environment. These are the measures that we promote. It's a sector that is quite important as regards social responsibility, and even programs, volunteer programs of various companies, along with the combination of private and state funding, could lead to positive results, because it is something that all citizens could understand, and at the same time, it is really important for any company to be the sponsor of such cases. This is why it's a perspective we should discuss with our partners, the rest of the 9 countries, in order to be able to ameliorate and concentrate more funding for such kind of cleaning, and what should be done to stop the entering of new plastics in the seas.
Thank you very much. I keep what you said about prevention and control. We should not forget that many things end up to the sea from the mainland, so those two topics are connected, and this is where collaboration plays a vital role as well, both at a regional level and other levels as well. I will not delve into more technical issues that you mentioned about ships. We should let me answer that. We would not cancel the financial activity. I imagine that you know that sea is very big. 70% of the planet consists of sea. The fact that we forbid fishing through boats in some protected areas, this does not mean that we forbid fishing with boats in other areas. I should also tell you that trolling fishing according to the European regulations, is forbidden in a very big part of the country's maritime space. I don't want to go into detail because I will tire you, but at the very big percentage, it is forbidden. Yes, at the biggest percentage. However, this is something we do because checking on that is not easy. We do not abide by the forbidden fishing. As such, we do not forbid the activity. However, we have foreseen that trawlings, which I don't want you to imagine that they are uncountable, they are approximately 150. So trawlings will be remunerated, will be refunded from for abiding by this rule. So thus we can cover the income loss they could have. So thank you very much. I'll go on with the Secretary General for Aegean and Insular Policy. And we know that your General Secretary and your high-rank ministry officials, we know that they're very active in the framework of Interreg programs, but you have also assumed many initiatives. We also heard you about the Greco Islands project yesterday. There are pilot projects for protecting the insular spaces and maritime areas as well. Give us some more information on your emblematic projects. Do you want to talk to us about those projects that are that fall under the EUSAIR and that have also added value for our strategy? Thank you very much to begin with for having us here and for including us here. We are part of this family as a Ministry of Maritime Affairs. We have also an experience. We have the institutional obligation to remind that territoriality as well as coasts meet at some point. This is something we do not need to. We need to remember. So this is why it is so important to have such strategies in the European neighborhoods. Right at this point, we refer to our macro region, but let's not forget about other macro regions as well, serving very specific objectives. So we need to assimilate what we know about our relationships, and we need to prepare the future for set the tone for these relationships. What we need to remember is that space does not know borders. Of course, there are limits and limitations. So let's see how, through these initiatives, we can improve ourselves. We, as a Ministry of Maritime Affairs and our Secretariat General, has a unique characteristic. Territoriality is in its nature. At the same time, we do need to answer as to horizontal policies related to maritime spaces, but we also need to respond to questions related to the territory. So we are among the few member states that have a structure, a governance structure for insular spaces. So, and this is how I want to endorse what Mr. Varelidis stressed. You need to invite Mr. Varelidis. We cooperate in an excellent way with him, because this is the way we need to face the environment, so that we can ensure that what we talk about makes sense and that we don't engage into private discussions without sense. So as General Secretariat for Insular Policy, I will say something that I want to publicly stress. Macro-region strategies and strategies integrating territorial dimension and horizontal Union policies were an inspiration to us so that we fix a framework that was missing previously, reminding how the integrated blue economy model can be related to territoriality. This is something that became law in 2021. So why did we do that? Why did we do that? We could write a paper about it. However, reality showed that if you do not correlate blue economy with tangible results in the mainland, it is absolutely of no sense to talk about them in our offices. So we have already produced results, and this is what determines the framework I will talk about. But it's very important to underline because we already we cooperate with DG Reform. This is a very important work, and OECD supports us in that. Croatia participates in it as well, Sweden as well, when it comes to our northern parties and partners. Our focus is on multi-level governance, especially into achieving resilience. Great senses, important senses, but for us is a very big challenge to determine how all these political platforms, such as EUSAIR, such as other political platforms as well, providing, let's say, cure for similar sectors. All these need to be correlated to be of some sense at the local level. So this is just an institutional and theoretical statements because I don't want us to forget about how we should talk about governance quality, which at the bottom line has to do with democracy quality. So social dimension can also be a pillar, can also be something horizontal. If we do not set clear that all these strategies are correlated to the human elements, that be education, employment, or prosperity, even if the environmental targeting is our objective, this is something that has to do with the human and its coexistence with the environment. So social dimension is horizontal. And to us it's very important stepping on 3 pillars. This is something that we talk about at the state level or European level. It is very important that the best regulation, so that it is cohesive with the reality. We need to have more funding, not just more funding in terms of quantity, but we need to have more references. So we need to evaluate the quality and how it affects reality. So we have job vacancies, income, how it is made use of in the insular space. And we have to focus on better knowledge. I think that macro-region strategy, when it comes to that, and Greek presidency, I hope that, and I trust that this will be the case, as it was mentioned after the goals achieved by the Croatian presidency, we need to put emphasis on the Greek presidency's priorities, as we need to produce results. So let's focus on this part. We have adopted as Greco Islands and the Ministry of Finance. This is a very good example of a holistic intervention at the same time. And blue economy is at the core, as blue or green transition coincides nowadays. So, but we just have to interpret how the society is engaged into that. So, to Greece, blue economy that we meet in insular and coastal spaces. This is 25% of the GDP. It's very important that we acknowledge that. We have shipping, fishing, so we need to focus on core sectors that one way or another have been of vital importance in terms of employment. And this shapes how we see their identity, how these sectors' identity is seen, correlated with the sea. So we need to introduce ourselves again with the professions I just mentioned. I just want us to bear this in mind. For example, our cooperation with Amazon Web Services, this is exactly the goal of this cooperation. How is this related to local communities? How all these that we are going to discuss today are related to the local communities? What is the effect? By effect, I mean employment and income. If something that we are discussing right now does not contribute to those two, then we will have no real effect, because we need for these populations to be in prosperity. So our cooperation with Ministry of Environment and EIB, this is what we aim at exactly. So we have 19 islands and coastal areas at which we need to support energy transition through particular goals, through cooperating with UNESCO. We have stressed water resources issues. We need to change the way we are thinking. And through all this, we just understood that we have a huge gap when it comes to employment in contemporary sectors. Yesterday, for example, in the Greco Islands event, we said that we are going to invest millions of euros in infrastructures. Do we have, however, human resources capital to engage into this process? And we want this human resources capital to come from the local communities. So we need to see how the already existing human resources capital will be upskilled and reskilled so that the existing needs are covered. We should be real. I'm sorry, but Petros is right about what he said. This is a Greek reality, a bottom-up initiative, which you will have taken as an example, the Amorgorama. This is something that Prime Minister announced as well. What is the special characteristic of the Amorgorama? Civil society and political sector engaged into marine protected areas creation in the middle of Clades, and fishermen themselves initiated this process so that they keep and protect their population. Their employment is sustainable. They engage into the protection. We don't want to just stay in the protection. We want to move on to securing this field. So now the state needs to adopt protection measures for the area and adopt a measure to protect bottom-up this specific area. This is an initiative we hope to see at the remaining member states of our neighborhood as well. I think this is how we operate as a ministry, as a General Secretariat. We operate as a political lab. And the most emblematic part to produce employment vacancies and that will integrate the society. We should say that while the Mediterranean population is not old, as happens with the northern European population, we have many young people However, we need to make them understand what does it mean, green transition, decarbonization. This is not theoretical. Okay, we approach them at a theoretical level, but now we just need to be real about them. More than 200 and 300 million are attributed to pilot intervention. Producing innovation at a European level as to how connectivity and decarbonization of the shipping industry, which is very important for our macro region, how is this related to the local communities? Of course, there are other topics related to yachting, port governance, and there are already job openings there, highly remunerated as well. Thank you very much. You have covered everything. You didn't let me make the following question. I just want to stress that what you mentioned on the social pillar, as previously mentioned, our strategy now with the revised action plan introduces the fifth pillar for the social integration and the social cohesion, including education, vocational training, and all those topics. This is among our horizontal priorities. We just expect the approval of the action plan to present it officially as well as a pillar and priority. I keep what you said. You covered every sector, social dimension, education, social functionality, human resources capital. I just wanted to ask, since you already mentioned blue-collar professions, which is among the priorities of our project, combined to safety, employment, job openings, and economic growth and sustainability, this know-how development and know-how, do we have it for blue-collar professions? Are we mature enough to pass it along to the rest of the countries as a good practice, as experience? The answer is like since the very first years of our existence. So the relationship of Greece to shipping, why shouldn't it be a model, an example for the other countries? We have been doing this since forever. We are a family, however. We don't talk about Greece only. We are members of a European family. We are not like ghettos. So let's not forget that. We are here to contribute to the Europe in the way we want to. Yeah, I think that Greek presidency can approach blue-collar professions even more. Blue-collar professions that are associated with shipping. And something else that I know you have already covered, the clusters are innovation entities. They bear innovation. However, as soon as they are connected to real financial outcomes, you will see their added values, their added value. Ionian space is a functional cluster on its own. Take as an example yachting or port governance. This is an industry itself which already produces vital and considerable income. But this will also create additional need when it comes to green transition. When we talk about cooperation of entities and businesses, we can create a model producing immediate results. However, making the mechanism that will produce immediate results is a challenge for the Greek presidency. So we need to raise awareness on what this stands for and how cooperation can be a platform so that all those competencies are better matched with the existing needs. And this is going to be determined through a research in the market, not by some university. So let's not forget that when we talk about professions and prosperity, we need to ask those bearing the responsibility of employment. So in sectors such as yachting, shipping, ports, we can collaborate in a perfect way, and it is a cornerstone for national economies and European economies. So this is realism. So thank you very much. My question was also related because, as we said, we have 5 countries, not member states in the macro region. So this is why I asked, how can we train them? How can we attract them to accelerate, of course, in the framework of the enlargement as well? I think that it goes without saying. Maybe I didn't say it clearly. Let me mention here that in Greece we had 2 major events this year, our Ocean Conference. Everything was discussed there in detail, but we also had another event as a ministry. We organized it, the Stakeholders Conference, consisting of the Mediterranean countries, where the candidate countries are also participants there. We do have occasions on which we could arrange to meet, but we also need to have a common agenda. Greek community has managed to correlate its country dimension along with the blue-collar professions issues, so we have already developed a relationship with these countries. So we are not here to tell you what to do. I also want to develop and improve what I know and how I know it. So we already cooperate in a very close way in the shipping sector, and I think that we can really help on that, passing along the experience of the Greek shipping system, which is a global power. Yeah, of course. We understood that, and this is very understood. It's clear. I just wanted to pass along to move on to Ms. Gudra, and I mentioned enlargement, referring to countries that are not already member states. Of course, in EUSAIR, this is what we do. What you said about cooperation, exchange, know-how exchange, good practice exchange. I think that we have achieved that because we work on that together and we cooperate in an excellent way, and we will continue to do that for our vision and strategy in which we believe.
Ms. Kudra, it has already been mentioned the general geopolitical climate in our area. We do know that enlargement is priority of your ministry and of our country. There is instability in our neighborhood because also of the conflicts, but I would like to ask you how immediate could this enlargement be or feasible, and how important in order to work towards that direction? Good morning. Before answer to your question, I would like to say some words of what the other speakers have mentioned. Well, it is a happy case because in the new commission we have 2 commissioners in the fields of enlargement and Mediterranean that come from the strategy of this region. This could also create more energies and collaborations. Well, moving on to the enlargement and to your question, thank you very much for that question. As it is already known, the enlargement of the European Union in the West Balkans is is a stable situation of Greece since the agenda of Thessaloniki 2023. Greece was the first country in EE and achieved that moment a lot, contrary to the other partners of the EU. Since then, there have been 20 years or more, I would say, and 3 enlargement waves, and the biggest one was the 5th, during which we accepted 10 new member states from East Europe. That led to a huge change as regards the Union. It has totally changed, as well as this enlargement process. Some of these changes were inevitable because it is about a political procedure that is quite dynamic, because the European Union and its dynamic is developed, but because a candidate country is quite different. That's why the position of Greece as regards Europe is the evaluation of the countries and its achievements. Indeed, our continent and the whole world faces unprecedented situations and changes, and all these have led to the geopolitical necessities as regards enlargement. According to Ms. von der Leyen, in the new directives, political directives of the European Commission, she used geopolitical imperative. On the other hand, we could achieve that the enlargement procedure always take place, the political situation in the wide range or in the local environment. There was no gap in these situations, but the situation today is quite different. The war is quite next to our common borders, and it is true that this situation also calls for us a new promotion to the enlargement, both in West Balkans and in the neighbors countries. Well, as Greece, we applaud this interest because of thanks to the enlargement process, but we also welcome the creation of a new file of enlargement that is occupied with this process. It's a process that our country never stopped to pay attention. Therefore, it's a process that especially the candidate countries is well known and difficult. The application of accession is a decision that is not easily taken. It has to follow a lot of steps and procedures, and in the end, a candidate country should incorporate the final documents and political decisions. If this was quite limited when we entered in 1981, this has been extended to a great variety of sectors. Therefore, in order to answer to your question, this procedure should never be immediate, because you cannot from one moment to the other become a member state of the EU. It's effective, and we wish for all our neighbors, especially Greece, but it is never immediate, because it includes a lot of important choices. The first one is a conscious choice of territorial concession according to the rules of the EU. The second one is the choice to be under this alignment in order to be assessed. And the third one, according to our opinion, is a basic geopolitical choice to be entered in the EU family and to respect its values and perspectives. In the end of this process, the candidate member state has many rights for its citizens and its businesses, but as a country, it has also a sense of security, which is really important nowadays, whether we talk about energy security or infrastructure security or safety, but also policy safety, because it respects the value and the fair state. At the same time, this decision and accession also bears obligations, respect to the conditions and the acquis. So if a country is not well prepared when it is accessed, it may face further problems. Therefore, Greece, as the oldest member of this union in the wide area, we should keep on and support practically, the more we can, the enlargement, the accession of our neighbors and help them as regards the know-how of this procedure. Thank you very much. Well, having all this in mind, I would like to ask you, because everything you have already mentioned is very important, especially of what we should do from a non-EU country in order to be joined in the European country. Do you think that our strategy, as it is presented and formed and promoted from 21-27, but we should have in mind that after 27 it should be transformed or changed in order to, after 27, to be to respond to more than 27 member states? Yes, of course, we do have. Do you think that we should have even more? Because there are already 5 candidates. No, but there should be 5 member states of the EU, we think, we wish. This is promoted by our country. This is something actually that we want. Therefore, in Europe, after 27, if there are 27 plus countries, what should be done as regards our strategy for this goal? Well, I would like to point out something that has already been mentioned, that half of our members of the region are candidate for accession. But if you see that clearly, the candidates are even more from the member states. So it's a unique strategy of the region that has such a balance between members and candidate members. Therefore, the enlargement, if I'm not wrong, since the conception of this idea was something basic, it was a central idea, we would say. Therefore, it was something that it was necessary to be achieved. What we want to do as a Greek presidency is to promote it to horizontal thematic and to upgrade it. It was the first upgrade priority of this strategy in order to join even the 5 pillars in the future. Therefore, it was very pleasant, and we expect this revised action plan. It moves towards the right direction as these priorities. We expect this emphasis of the enlargement. Now, if it is completed, I mean, the procedure of accession, election would not be a priority, but I think that, on the other hand, cooperation would never stop being a priority. As regards Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we try to move to promote this procedure, paying attention to connectivity and its integration to its wider funding part, as IPA, WPIS, and the new regulations of the European Commission, funding facilitation for the new development program of Balkans. These funding tools, we use them in order to find new resources, because as it has been mentioned, there are no new resources. On the other hand are the cohesion funds, and on the other hand these funding tools for the candidate states. Another sector we would like to have an added value are the steering groups that could be used in order to have know-how, expertise in the Balkans. Our logic is to be in an alignment process, as it has already been mentioned. It's not just the ideas, but their practice and application, and how all the countries could cooperate. We need synergies and cooperations, actually. So one of our goals is to use all these projects and contribute to the development of the countries and their accessions and be promoted. Actually, we do know these projects because we collaborate, but we need to promote all this towards the Commission and to the rest of the member states. Another field is to integrate these rates of strategy, this strategy and their results to the action plans that candidate members have as regards the IPA 3. As we know, at the end of the month, it is planned a session in Sarajevo exactly for this discussion and integration programs. As you do understand, that Greece believe will, in my field, we have a more horizontal issue, but it's exactly this interconnection of the program, whether we talk about candidate countries or the member states, and the horizontal goal for us, priority is the enlargement. Our basic initiative is to avoid covering, promoting completion and achievement of these strategies and the use of the tools in order to achieve all the projects with multiple benefits for the citizens and the businesses. Thank you very much. And I'm really glad that you were mentioned these flagships projects that as ideas are promoted, but our strategy and move on to further projects for financing and funding. This is very important, and also it is important that visibility of strategy, as it is mentioned, because it's something that has not been achieved, and I'm really happy that you were mentioned to the pre-procession project, IP, as tools for the candidate members that give us the opportunity to talk about our funding and not the pre-accession project. And I'm starting about the issue of the new Academy of Commissioners. We do know that Ms. von der Leyen announced the school of appointing Mr. Rafael Midler. We would like to tell you what is this choice for the region policy and for the future of its political cohesion, because discussions about cohesion discussions are under discussion on the table. We talk about regions, indirect, our strategies, consultancy, and cohesion policy, and there should be implemented. How Greece is prepared after 27?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here and congratulate everyone on the exceptional work that you do. Indeed, for Greece, the cohesion policy has been and will be a priority. Greece has played a vital role in creating a cohesion policy, and we should not forget that. What is more, we can see that through the Greek presidency priorities, as mentioned previously multiple times. Time is approaching when the European Commission will submit its proposals for the new programming period. We think that we'll have them by May 2025. for it to submit those proposals, many discussions in fora, in conferences and meetings are held. The former commissioner has already created a high level 2 that has met multiple times discussing practical issues when it comes to social cohesion. Samely, Greece has made up an experts team, experts who deeply know the matters of cohesion policy and who know the issues related to it, secretaries general, experts, consultants, etc. And we have formed a framework which I believe we are ready for. We are ready for this very important moment of negotiation and later on submitting this regulatory framework. Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, has also announced the restructuring of the commissioners' responsibilities for their new tenure. Sure, yeah, there is an executive vice president's position for cohesion and reforms. The responsibilities that he assumes are described therein, and what is first is surveillance of the interests and agreed reforms and investments determined in the resilience and development plan. Of course, there is the whole cohesion pack with the support of the DG Regio and urges towards an alignment of the cohesion policy with the broader strategic priorities of the EU. I would like us to remember here all together what is the main purpose of the political cohesion. The main purpose is dealing with the geographical differences and dealing with inequalities. And to achieve this goal, in the cohesion policy, we include many elements constituting its added value, such as the country's dimension. Yesterday we talked about Greco Islands and the small islands in general. Mr. Koutoulakis mentioned the national dimension, and we put emphasis on weaker geographical areas. And this is where European citizens do not seem to be very happy. Among the apart from the intra-region convergence, but also in this cross-border relationship, this is what derives from the studies. This is what can be dealt only through inclusion. We have various times heard about we should leave no one behind, about choosing to stay or live somewhere. Those phrases have a geographical importance. They refer to a specific site at a specific time. This is what cohesion policy includes. It also includes a multi-level programming, setting clear our goals, the goals of every country and region. It also includes the management and corporate relationships deriving from the European architecture. Every level of management should participate, every level of administration should participate in planning and implementation of every action, and every action should be implemented by the responsible level. This way, the whole potential is made use of, and transparency is secured. It's a matter of democracy. Those elements make the difference in the cohesion policy. And these are its added value as well. As we know that all big crises, all big challenges have unequal consequences on citizens. Same happens with sectoral policies. We should always look into the consequences of the sectoral policy. Everything else, I'm sorry to say that, but we cannot find it in Letta and Draghi reports that were published. The recommendations seem to focus on convergence without taking into consideration the special consequences. We hope that upgrading the political cohesion will also upgrade the ambitions related to it for a political unification of Europe. And let's hope that it will not distort political cohesion, because cohesion constitutes a vital pillar of the EU. So we need to have the necessary resources and means for its implementation. This is what I have to say, like in short, because the topic is very broad. Of course, it's broad, and we are for political cohesion, all here together, because it is the basis of the European Union. Of course, this is the cornerstone of the whole structure of the European Union. It is important that we enlarge what we mean by we. So let's conclude. You mentioned a special dimension of the political cohesion. Let me put it that way. EUSAIR is a special strategy, special policy. So in this sense, we could say that this is a subtotal of the political cohesion in general. Considering that, how one could reinforce the other, how could one accompany the other, and how could one benefit from the other? How could EUSAIR benefit from the cohesion policy to which it belongs and which should promote? Indeed, the AII macro region is part of the cohesion policy. It goes without saying to my understanding. However, there are some differentiations. When it comes to political cohesion, the planning is made at a state level, while at the EUSAIR, the planning is made based on some geographical characteristics. The second differentiation is that this is a strategic framework of cooperation, but it has no funding. This is a very big difference. The similarities, however, are the targets, the cohesion, when both at the spatial and economic level, social cohesion, dealing with common challenges. We can see that from the priorities set as well. It is a cooperation between member states and countries that are not member states of the EU. at an equivalent way, in an equivalent way. We also have the Interreg, which is hard to find in reports and in new assigned commissioners. We do not know who is going to deal with all these issues, but those programs are very important, cross-border programs. In this way, both member states and non-member states are handled in an equivalent way. The issue is how is this planning going to be financed and those priorities. And this is something I'll mention a cliche for that. When the involved parties are convinced that it is to their interest to engage into actions that will also benefit their neighbors, and when we are convinced that climate change can only be dealt with and addressed when we are together, when we understand that sea pollution has no borders. In addition, discussing enlargement, as already mentioned, discussion has opened, and EUSAIR strategy plays a vital role into that. So the macro-regional strategy will have prepared the cooperation of the countries involved therein, so that the burden is not on the cross-border regions of those countries, which are very often weak ones. Thank you very much, because you concluded with a very good message for enlargement and common addressing of challenging for weak regions. But you made me sad mentioning Interreg missing from all reports. 3% of the political cohesion report dedicated to the Interreg. How lower could it be? I insist on Interreg being the cornerstone of the European Union, as we not only talk about one country, we talk about ensembles, we talked about cross-border cooperations, and I believe that we will work toward that, both in our unit and ministry. We trust that Interreg will have the place it deserves after 2027 as well, especially after 2027, considering all those challenges that we face in the whole European space. However, we need to understand that all those programs are pilots. After ending being pilot, they need to be adopted in reality. So we need to implement them after them concluding being pilot programs. And we need to cooperate to implement in reality. So we need to bear in mind the reason why those programs were initially adopted. One last thing I want to mention is because when Europe started dealing seriously with development, special dimension of the policy is a matter of equality and democracy. Attributing special justice is what interprets the cohesion policy, whether this is for mountains, towns, cities, or islands. So this is what we stand for. So back to our roots, back to our political cohesion roots. This is why we have invented those platforms, to focus on what matters. I'm just putting this as a result drawn from our experience, from implementing policies, or from the need to better implement policies. Thank you very much, every one of you, and one by one, for participating in this panel and for whatever you have made us aware of. Thank you very much.
Well, let's move on to the last session for today. As you step on, I would like to invite to the podium Mr. Konstantinos Mylonas, Director of Hellenic Center for Marine Research and Aquaculture. Mr. Stefanos Kalogirou, Deputy Professor in Agricultural University of Athens, and Maria Boyle, the University of Piraeus. You may come this way, please. The coordinator for this panel is me. After the coordination discussion of Ms. Christopoulou, it's my responsibility now. I hope that I will be as efficient as Ms. Kontopoulou. I'm really glad being here with you today. I would like to inform you this is a live discussion through Corfu channel, so we will try to follow a TV procedure. It is a really important issue, blue economy. Blue economy that, let me say, that know quite few things, and I have the impression that its participation in this what we say development and economical development is something not clearly and well known. I remember during the previous discussion the following phrase of Thukydides. I remember saying, talking about the big sea state. At this period, Thukydides used to talk about the power that the control of seas surrenders to the states of that period. According to this telling, it's the participation, the control, the monitor of the ocean and the ocean of what we call economy. I clearly said, Mr. General Secretary, he talked about some numbers. He talked about that the participation of blue economy in the PIB is 25%. Quite few of us know, even a great economologists or people that participate in public discussion. And if we add to all these two new elements, for instance, Greece has 6,000 islands. If we add to these to 155 offshore kilometers, then we do understand the role of this blue economy for this blue development of Greece. I would like to inform you, because you talked about job and income. Apart from the income, we should say that participation of employers of blue economy is up to 5.4 million people. Employers in Europe participate in this blue economy program. I'm really sorry for this introduction, but I would like to explain to the public the blue economy. I will start with Mr. Konstantinos Mylonas, who is Director of Institute of Marine Biology, Biotechnology and Agriculture. Please talk about yourself. Who are you? And introduce yourself. Well, I was born in Cyprus in 1964. I come from Amochostos. After my military service, I went to the United States in order to study aquaculture and come back to Cyprus to cultivate fish. I was led to research than growing fish for seafood, but I am still in the field of production of food production and exploitation of what Mr. Varilidis said, of 80% or 75% of the planet surrounded by sea. And nowadays I'm the director of the institute that, apart from aquaculture, is occupied with biodiversity and biotechnology. Well, we will talk about that later on. Yes, there are some small presentations. Let's move on with the introduction of Mr. Kalogiru, who is deputy professor in the University of Athens. Thank you very much for your invitation. I was born in Rhodes, in Sweden, but I grew up in Rhodes. I studied sea at university. I spent 15 years in Rhodes, and then I left. I was repented of Sweden, and now I'm back to do what I love the most on research, on fish research. And it's Miss Maria Boyle, yes. She's a professor managing of shipping along with transport in the field of maritime studies. It's something not well known. Yes, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm Maria Boyle. I have studied in Polytechnio, and I have a specialization on transport. I keep on studying on United States on transport on a departmental faculty. I was specialized on sea transfer and the management of port and shipping of logistics. I worked in the United Studies and the academic and research field for 20 years. I came back to Greece. I collaborated with the National Center of Development, where I work with, and I'm the head of shipping and sea unit. And at the same time, I'm a professor at the University of Piraeus, and the director of the maritime studies. And in the European level, I'm a coordinator of waterborne technological platform. I heard about a number. We're talking about 100 ports as regards shipping, or even more, I think. Yes, even more. Well, we are going to talk about that. Let's start with Mr. Konstantinos Milonas. Mr. Milonas is going to present us about blue technologies. Thanks through a small video. There's a small video, an introduction to our issues. I'm going to talk to you about blue biotechnologies and aquaculture, which are the two of the three issues that we make research in the Institute. I am the president. As you have heard, if you are occupied with nature and environment, Greece has a great biodiversity, contrary to the rest of the Europe. That is, the number of species per kilometer is huge. There are quite many organisms in the seas, and this great biodiversity comes also from some habitats quite extreme, such as the subsea volcanoes. All these organisms in the sea, I mean the sea biodiversity, is necessary to be examined, and we have to understand them in order to maintain them, to preserve them. That's why this is one of our goals, in order to make our life better and pleasant, not only to save the world, because Earth will keep moving despite all these procedures, but we will not have a good ending if biodiversity will change in the next 10 or 20 years. So one of our goals is the study of this biodiversity in order to be able to develop some process in order to preserve and ameliorate it. But there is also the part that this biodiversity may give us further added value just to enjoy the existence and the balance of the ecosystems. There is a more tangible added value, which is the use of eugenes or substances or processes that could produce some of these organisms. And one example that I would like to use, and we think it's something special, but it is something you hear quite frequently, it's the study of the micro world that exists in the sub-volcanoes. This is a sub-volcano situated northwest of Santorini. It's a living volcano. It's almost 450 meters, and this environment that is almost 200 Celsius degrees, the water I mean, there are too many acids and metals. There is a microbiological paradise with thousands of different organisms developed to live in very toxic environment. And for this reason, they have developed some methods, some molecules, chemical molecules of protection. And they were very strong to various threats. This could lead us to some bacterium that are quite flexible to any challenges. And that could also harm people, but unfortunately this could also cause a lot of deaths every year to hospitals or patients that are polluted by these microorganisms and other pathogens that we thought that they never existed or we cannot handle them. So, studying all these organisms in the bottom of the sea, we develop other antibiotics, or we find new ways in order to protect human health. Another role of blue economy in this aquaculture, for which I will speak on later, and using biotechnological methods to study different food or raw material from cycle economy. We can use biotechnological methodologies in order to find sustainability of some materials or digestivity in order to use them more efficiently on food for aquaculture. Through this procedure, we can ameliorate the production of aquaculture in order to make it more effective. Another field related to biodiversity is the invasive species that become more and more various in Mediterranean Sea. As you know, from Suez, a lot of ships come that bring ballast water, in which there are a lot of organisms transferred through the water because of the connectivity of the ocean with the Mediterranean Sea, and because of the increasement and of the temperature of the sea in the East Mediterranean Sea. These organisms have been multiplied. So these organisms, these foreign-born organisms, bear or send away the rest of the organisms that live in this habitat. Well, this is not bad, but if one leaves and the other comes, but the new one could be poisonous, such as these fish, as you can see here, right there, or this could not have the same cost, market cost, such as this German, as it is called, which has sent away a lot of fish that eat vegetables. These fish, if we study all these fish and what is their consequences and impacts on the environment, one way to limit their extension or how destructive they can be to the environment is to create economical products. For instance, this fish, which is a toxic object, we can extract this substance, which had some cosmetics characteristics such as Botox, or they could have some characteristics that we can eat them. So thanks to its fishing, we can provide fishers with further products so they could help them. Also, under the process of this fish, we could limit the acidity in its flesh, and this acidity could be used as fertilizer or for food for livestock. Therefore, these are blue economies related to the use of biodiversity, the huge biodiversity that there is in Greece. To conclude, the biggest biodiversity worldwide is the aquaculture. In this slide, you can see in the blue and the light blue the shipping, production, the fishing worldwide that is stable more than 35 years. And sea resources, either they are used in the level at the maximum, or there is overfishing, as it has been mentioned. Aquaculture covers more than 50% of the consumption of fish, and slowly, since this field has been developed for 40 years with two number of increase, this field keeps being increased, and it will end up that most of the fish would come from fishing and not from, from aquaculture, not from fishing. Obviously, aquaculture offers some important advantages as regards the product. That means it does not disturb the ecosystem, as we have already seen about trawling, fishing trawling, or other huge industrial activities of fishing. There is some monitor about the food that the fish eat, so acidity in the sea environmental that is polluted is controlled, and we can monitor all this because they are fed so that systematically, so their quality is more stable during the time, contrary to the rest of the fish, and mostly since they are fishing under control, I mean, we fish as much as we need, their quality and their freshness is kept for longer. The problem for aquaculture is that since it depends on fishery from primary material, for this reason, we decrease the seafloor in order to increase productivity. As a result, that the fish of aquaculture have less nutrients, and at this point, it's biotechnology that will lead us to new methods of productive of oil acids by the sea, and sea creatures that will use as primary substances to develop aquaculture, which is a very important activity. It's the third sector of production, and is is a great sector of exportation, since all these are exported to the European Union. This is what I wanted to mention. Well, what you have said, I mean your participation in the aquaculture, in the balance, thanks to the exportation of goods. It's really important that in the Ionian or the Eptanese, aquaculture is really known. Kefalonia, Stakor, or Corfu, aquaculture is really important. Thank you very much. Mr. Karagiru will lead us to another world, and he's going to introduce us to another word, climate changes and macro region and ecological importance. Let's listen to him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'll start as I started some months ago at another conference for fishing and aquaculture. So, preservation of fishing areas is a common responsibility. It's of vital importance to acknowledge and embrace the role of the innovations coming from the community. Those communities are correlated to the maritime environment. Their local know-how is priceless. Cultural heritage is priceless. They are interested in securing those resources for them and for the generations to come. Their participation, as previously heard, is not only important but also transformative, forming efficient and sustainable management strategies. What I call cooperation, collaboration, and interdisciplinarity, as previous attendees mentioned. I will mention two recent examples. One is Amorgorama, and then the other is another proposal submitted by the Agronomic University, consisting of plans that we can do to have an ecological signaling at an area. This is the governance, industry, academia, and community all together made up this loop. The objective is to have a better scientific knowledge on fishing, to take into consideration the environment, to the development, the cooperation, the sustainable fishing, and to preserve the employment right there, to help having the same principles and standards on fishing, and try to create some areas of restricted fishing. Here we have some exploitation indicators. Let's see them. Here we have the biomass for specific fish species, for anchovy, for sea bass, for cod. They are augmented. It's something we do not want. What we can protect based on the size of the fish. What we try and do is try and give solutions, and we have other regulations and measures to interconnect them with. We need to contribute to the safety when it comes to sufficiency of food. What we also call a precautionary and ecosystem-based approach also needs to be secured. We also need to have scientific consultations as well. 80.5% is coastal fishing, and in Greece we have 16.6%. There we have some employment data. 2 years ago, there was an MOU with some entities as regards the Amorgorama project. As Mr. Varelidis also mentioned, everyone has talked in detail. I have been covered, actually. Municipalities, organizations, NGOs, the university, everyone participated in this, and we had a common objective. This was not easy. It needs time, it needs trust. It required time for the fishermen to put their trust on us. However, what we have understood is that among the 21 commitments made by the government, there was one more to be added. This is the Amorgorama, and we need to create fisheries restricted areas, aiming at preserving environments that are of vital importance for fishing. Those are the technical measures. This is a way to create protected areas. When it comes to fishing, we need to take into account the reproductive period, the size of the area, many more as well. I will not tire you very much. There is too much analysis behind all that to understand why each of these tools was adopted. But there are steps. We have the consultation step with the entities, and we need to implement it in reality. Very important to have scientific documentation and expertise. We need to recommend measures and actions, and we need to have consultations with competent ministries. I will be very quick, and I'll talk about another part as well that derived from a working group of our scientific technical European Union Commission as to ecological signaling evaluation indicators. This is a very big task, this is a huge task, and as you'll see, in the bottom line, what we see is the stock. We need to examine everything on a case-per-case basis, as we did with trawlings. And we also need to consider whether we have sensitive species. We did that for the open sea species, and we set up a very big team in the EUSAIR with members from all those countries, and we made it. We helped its maturity. We see here the countries involved. We have 6 countries and 9 project partners in this project. This means that we also embrace entities that are other than universities. This is in more detail, the parties involved. We see entities, for example, that are not public, or university, or research entity, other entities from Italy, so on and so forth. And our aim was to count the sustainability in every fishing tool, from the beginning to the end. I will not tire you with methodology. I will be quick. The aim is to create a tool, a small and easy to adopt, that can help us with controlling freshness or other factors that can be made use of in the Ionian macro region, and to promote the capacity building within this region, one helping the other. Policies and strategies to be strengthened are the fishing policy, the control regulation, the maritime strategy, the objectives about the sustainable management, and of course the objective for the biodiversity for 2030. And since we are in this poetic mood, the speaker is quoting Odysseus Elitis' words. So let's see the production. I have the fishing production. I have prepared a small video to be projected, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Τη θάλασσα πάντα εδώ στο νησί τη νιώθουμε κομμάτι του εαυτού μας. Όπως μου δίδαξε ο πατέρας μου πράγματα για τη θάλασσα, είναι ότι η θάλασσα είναι ελευθερία.
Η θάλασσα είναι κομμάτι της ζωής μας και δεν μπορούμε να ζήσουμε χωρίς αυτή.
Εμένα η θάλασσα είναι η ζωή μου. Εγώ ήμουνα στην Αθήνα και μετά έκανε ο πατέρας μου το καεί και αυτό και γύρισα στην Αμοργό. Τώρα δεν ζω χωρίς τη θάλασσα, αλλά στεναχωριέμαι. Στεναχωριέμαι γιατί είμαι 45 χρονών και δεν βλέπω να υπάρχει μέλλον.
Τα χρόνια ετούτα η θάλασσα έχει πάει πίσω πολύ. Δεν ζει κανένας με αυτή τη δουλειά. Αν δεν έχεις δεύτερη δουλειά δεν ζεις.
Βλέπω και εγώ το επάγγελμα τελειώνει. Τα σκάφη λιγοστεύουν συνέχεια, άλλοι τα κόβουν και άλλοι τα τελειώνουν γιατί δεν μπορούν να επιβιώσουν. Και από ό,τι βλέπω ότι σε λίγα χρόνια δεν θα υπάρχουν ψαράδες.
Για την υπεραλίευση φταίχουμε όλοι μας. Και εμείς οι παράκτοι το μερίδιο μας το έχουμε, και η Μεσσιαλία το έχει, και το κράτος το έχει, πάνω απ' όλα, οι νομοθέτες και όλοι. Αυτό πιστεύω ότι φταίει.
Οι παράκτοι αλληλείς εδώ στο νησί μας έχουν αναλάβει μια πάρα πολύ σημαντική πρωτοβουλία που ακούει στο όνομα Αμοργόραμα, προκειμένου να καταστήσουν βιώσιμο το επάγγελμά τους.
Το Αμοργόραμα είναι μια πρόταση του Επαγγελματικού Αλευτικού Συλλόγου Αμοργού για ένα σχέδιο διαχείρισης για την βιωσιμότητα της παράκτιας αλίας, την αντιμετώπιση της υπεραλίευσης αλλά και την αντιμετώπιση της θαλάσσιας ρύπανσης.
Είναι ένα πολύ σπάνιο φαινόμενο οι αλληλείς οι ίδιοι να προτείνουν περιοχές ή ζώνες προστασίας. Εμείς θα προσπαθήσουμε να τεκμηριώσουμε περιοχές περιορισμού της αλληλευτικής δραστηριότητας, ώστε να μπορέσουμε να προστατεύσουμε εκείνα τα οικοσυστήματα τα οποία είναι απαραίτητα για την υγιή διαβίωση των ψαριών.
Συμμετέχω γιατί ελπίζω σε ένα καινούριο αύριο.
Όλοι θέλουμε να βοηθήσουμε προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση. Από την αρχή είμαστε υποστηρικτές και σαν γυναίκα ψαρά και σαν μάνα και σαν κάτοικος του νησιού. Θα κάνουμε ό,τι περνάει από το χέρι μας ώστε να επιτευχθεί ο στόχος αυτός.
Είχαμε τη στήριξη από το Κυκλάδες Preservation Fund από τα πρώτα μας βήματα και τώρα νιώθουμε και την στήριξη από το Blue Marine Foundation. Είναι ένα ίδρυμα με τεράστια εμπειρία στις προστατευόμενες περιοχές.
Σε μια περίοδο πολύ κρίσιμη για τις θάλασσες και γενικότερα για το περιβάλλον, το Αμοργόραμα έρχεται να μας διδάξει και να μας θυμίσει ότι η συνεργασία, το αίσθημα της κοινότητας, η σύμπλευση, το κοινό όραμα μας κάνει πιο δυνατούς και μόνο καλά αποτελέσματα μπορεί να έχει. Και εμένα αυτό μου δίνει δύναμη και μου γεμίζει τις μπαταρίες για να συνεχίσω τη δύσκολη μάχη για την προστασία του περιβάλλοντος.
Είναι μια συνεργασία η οποία πραγματικά θα δώσει ένα έναυσμα και θα αποτελέσει ένα παράδειγμα για τις υπόλοιπες περιοχές, όχι μόνο των Κυκλάδων, όλης της Ελλάδας. Είναι κάτι το οποίο το προσπαθούμε χρόνια και αυτή τη στιγμή νιώθω πολύ περήφανος και πολύ ωραία που συμμετέχω σε αυτή την προσπάθεια και προσπαθούμε όλοι μαζί από κοινού να πετύχουμε αυτό το στόχο.
Το Αμοργόραμα είναι εκεί που συναντιέται ξανά ο άνθρωπος και η θάλασσα με έναν τρόπο. Είναι οι αλληλείς που βάζουν πλάτη και είναι μια ολόκληρη κοινότητα που συναντιέται ξανά σε ένα υγιές περιβάλλον.
Είναι για μένα ένα παράδειγμα υπέρβασης για έναν ψαρά που είναι το επάγγελμά του, να αποφασίσει και να πει ναι, θέλω να κλείσω μία περιοχή.
Αν είναι η λύση, δεν μπορούμε να το ξέρουμε ακόμα. Το σίγουρο είναι ότι δεν μπορούμε να συνεχίσουμε έτσι. Το αμοργόραμα είναι μια αρχή, είναι το πρώτο βήμα. Σίγουρα έχει βάλει στο τραπέζι τα προβλήματα και προσπαθεί να προτείνει λύσεις.
Η ελπίδα μας είναι να πετύχουμε αυτό που κάνουμε, γιατί είναι και χρονοβόρο και πρέπει να πετύχει. Γιατί από αυτή τη δουλειά ζουν άνθρωποι και πρέπει να υπάρχει συνέχεια.
Η θάλασσα είναι μεγάλη, είναι ατελείωτη. Όλοι μαζί, άμα προσέξουμε, προσπαθήσουμε για αυτά, θα την καταφέρουμε.
Η θάλασσα για μας και για μένα είναι το ψωμί μας, η ζωή μας, το μεράκι μας. Αυτό ήθελα και από όλους τους συναδέρφους, να την προστατεύσουμε. Για να ζήσουμε και εμείς όσο χρόνια μας μένουνε και τα παιδιά μας, η νέα γενιά. Γιατί πρέπει να τους παραδώσουμε κάτι.
Amorgorama, yes. Amorgorama, where the sea meets fishing, and we should say something that Mr. Melonas has already mentioned. He talked about 50% of worldwide production that comes from fishing and aquaculture. When I asked him for Greece, he told me that 70% of consumption comes from aquaculture. Well, 70% comes from aquaculture. Let's move on to Miss Maria Boile. We are talking about development of blue economy. At the same time, we have management of resources and the protection of the seafood. How can maritime governance framework be strengthened, and what can we do to promote this development of the blue economy? Thank you very much. What I could say after all this presentation and the video? As a researcher, I'm really surprised about the deep research of the issues, and all of them were quite interesting. I would like to zoom out and to make a more holistic approach. We're talking about blue economy. We dedicated the whole day talking about the importance of the development of blue economy and how can this be achieved. The importance is allied, not only financially talking, but environmentally as well, but also social well-being that we have seen through the video. You are talking about activities linked to sea fishing, tourism, exploitation of sea resources, renewable resources, and then quite many others. The development of these fields is quite important, both for local and national economies, and the development of positions. And if we see the variety and the variance of all these function as support or additional to one the other, but there are also some activities that function in a preventive or a prohibited way. Therefore, we do understand that there is the need to have a stronger governance framework of regulation. This sea governance concerns regulation, monitoring, and the surveillance of sea environment and activities, and our aim is the achievement of the sustainable and effective blue effective. What does it include? There is a framework for in the field of rules and of political resources in order to avoid conflicts between activities, avoid overexploitation that lead to the degradation of the environment and of the biodiversity. Well, to answer to your question, I would like to tell you that this empowerment demands a combination of strong political mechanisms of empowerment and collaboration, which is something we have heard quite many times today. Collaboration, as the colleague have already mentioned, participant approach. we just exchanging ideas is not a simple procedure, but we should make an agenda and implement it. Therefore, it is really important, all this procedure, well, should also be done to the regional and national collaboration. Yes, of course, because quite many of these issues related to monitoring and maintenance and or avoidance of energies that are negative are some common challenges. Therefore, common challenges demand synergies and collaborations in national and international problem. So therefore, yes. I would also like to add at this point something that has already been mentioned, that we should listen private initiative, private sector, and therefore the governments and academic sector should cover all the gaps. It's something that I do agree totally, but I would also like to add something else. There is the sense of innovation at this point that comes, research and innovative come to serve all these achievement of a sustainable blue economy. Therefore, there is the development of technologies quite rapidly. You mean for the models of technology or governments? I mean the governments, model governments, but also the technologies that serve some fields, research and other examples we have already heard, that are the pillars, according to my opinion, for the development of blue economy. But since research and innovation are being developed quite rapidly, I would also be mentioned that research community should feed private sector according to the new trends, not only privately, the demand and trying to find solutions not only in the private sectors. That's why this should be in public and private sector. Innovation and development should be developed in private sector, but also in the development of different skills. Apart from development, there is also monitoring in governments. Are there any innovative models according to technology, to the development of technology that could contribute to blue economy? Models of control, of monitor, yes, they are based on technology. Some very important technologies we use, satellites, we use robots, automatic sub gadgets that collect data. There is artificial intelligence that collect huge volume of data, even in real time. Therefore, there are tools that could support surveillance and create a better basis for collecting information and decisions. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
It's been 2 days now. From the corner I'm sitting at, I am watching Miss Secretary General for the PA. She's constantly taking notes. Of course, those notes have the purpose to serve as a guideline for the synopsis, so I will invite her right now. Good afternoon again. We are concluding at this point the works of our kickoff meeting for the Greek presidency in the EUSAIR strategy that coincides with its 10th anniversary since the year of its conception. Greece will follow a renewed approach for the implementation of the strategy, making use of the practices and experience acquired all these years. At the core, we find the collaboration with neighboring countries and the implementation of a reinforced action plan, continuing the work of the previous presidencies. In this framework, the Greek presidency plans to host technical services aiming to serve all four pillars: connectivity, social cohesion, environmental quality, so on and so forth. Today we presented the revised action plans and the Greek presidency's priorities, and we heard fruitful interventions from the attendees here today, from ministries and other entities. Mr. Kittel talked about the global challenges that need to be faced by the strategy, as well as for the Western Balkans countries' issues. Ms. Kos outlined what has happened in this 10-year journey for the EUSAIR strategy, as this is the biggest change in the strategic innovation. Mr. Varalidis has, among other, talked about the priorities of the EUSAIR strategy and stressed that the connectivity should be its first priority, especially when it comes to energy. He also underlined that we need to address the extensive fishing issue, which is key to protecting the environment as well, as abiding by measures is also. Mr. Koutoulakis, the Secretary General, highlighted the importance of connecting the blue economy to the local spatial landscape and to separate the actions at multiple governance level. He also underlined the horizontal dimension that the social cohesion should have, as well as all the strategic initiatives. They should constitute, as he said, a human element. I keep that Mr. Koutoulakis said, as I myself consider it to be very important. We need to have the human element on all those social policies that are drafted for local communities, for the upskilling of the region's inhabitants, which are so closely related to the sea. Then we had Ms. Kudra, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go through my notes. Just a minute. Maybe I've left them down there. So, Ms. Kudra, First Embassy Secretary for the Foreign Affairs Ministry. She talked about EU enlargement, which is a stable position for Greece, as Greece was the first to have recognized this perspective. She described the accession process for countries in the EU and mentioned the conditions, the difficulties, and the positive aspects and benefits that the countries that are in the European Union enjoy. Ms. Kostopoulou talked about the cohesion policy and the importance of preserving it for Greece. She reminded that the main goal for political cohesion policy is dealing with geographical difficulties and differences. Mr. Milonas, Director of Hellenic Marine Center Research, described issues related to biodiversity and aquaculture. Mr. Kalogiru stressed the importance of interdisciplinarity and gave us this great example, Amorgorama, where knowledge on fishing is made use of to prevent extensive fishing. We saw through Amorgorama how important initiative and collaboration is, and the initiative undertaken by the very same inhabitants themselves. As many residents said, this is their life. Ms. Boyle, professor, talked about maritime governance, requiring measures and collaboration. She also stressed that research and innovation is a cornerstone for maritime governance. We also need to engage into cutting-edge technologies such as robots, AI, and so on and so forth. So, EUSAIR was connected to the national goals for transition, energy transition and climate change, and initiatives undertaken with relevance to the blue economy and insular policy. We mentioned the 5 priorities of the Greek presidency on which we will focus. We mentioned the emblematic actions of Pillar 1 through those discussion panels, and we saw some very good practices, but also new ideas that could potentially be implemented within this programming period. To wrap up today's event, I would like to thank all the attendees, the governor, the mayors, the colleagues, the secretary generals, all the speakers and partners who participated in our discussions, my partners in the General Secretariat and the PA, Ms. Konstantopoulou, who is the National Coordinator for the EUSAIR, from the European Commission representative, Mr. Torkaski. Thank you very much for being here today and for your speech. And I should say that your knowledge and experience and interests are of vital importance for us to continue our efforts. We will continue to work and collaborate with each other. Thank you very much. As you understood, it was fair and right for Ms. Padelopoulou to wrap up. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.